Yo, what's up, everybody? It is Ringside Report. I am Dave Simon. There's Freddie to my left, or right. I guess he's on my right. There's AJ. AJ's there too. AJ DeLesio. You see
VIP.
their names there. Yo, check it. VIP. What's up, bro? We got some MMA to talk about here. It's halfway through 2020, which I think is great because this year has mostly sucked. I mean, there have been some positives about 2020. I don't want to be fully negative, but we have been living through the worst pandemic that we've ever seen, as far as our generation at least. It's been some pretty crappy times this year. I'd say 2020 overall as a year has not been great, so I'm happy that it's halfway over. Maybe we're going to get out of the darkness at some point, but we have had a lot of MMA, a lot of fights, and I want to kind of recap the best and worst of the year, some of the most surprising moments. I saw, AJ, you sent me, was it AJ or Fred? Who sent me that thing that ESPN did? They stole my idea before I had the chance to do my idea.
Man,
yeah.
they're fast.
So I was like, yeah, let's do like a, it's midway through the year. The year is halfway done. We just had a candidate for Fight of the Year in Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker. Was that Fight of the Year? Let's talk about it. Let's talk about Fighter of the Year. Let's talk about Pay-Per-View of the Year or whatever. Just kind of the year so far in MMA. And, of course, it's been affected by the coronavirus. We've seen many cards now without fans in attendance. We're going to continue to see those cards without fans in attendance. Fight Island is a thing that's going to start. That's going to happen next week. They're going to be in Abu Dhabi, July the 11th, UFC 251. They got 3 title fights ready for Fight Island.
That can make your arthritis pain worse.
Who's got arthritis pain? AJ, what's going on?
AJ.
All of a sudden, a commercial for arthritis pain starts playing in AJ's bubble there. What is happening? Classic AJ.
Coronavirus, man.
Yeah, man.
Who doesn't have arthritis when you do jiu-jitsu?
I bet I know what happened. AJ opened up the ESPN article just like I did. And you say you're mad at ESPN, but I'm actually happy because I didn't do no research on this. You guys sent me this mid-year award thing a little late, so thank you ESPN for the resume, and I'll be able to talk now about the subject.
Yeah, ESPN did do a little article, and you guys sent this to me after. I was like, yeah, let's do kind of mid-year wrap-up, and it's like, oh, ESPN just did it. I was like, goddamn ESPN, stealing my gimmicks before I have the chance to even use my gimmicks. But that's okay, because we're going to be doing it a little bit differently, and, they did, I think, just an article, and we have a show, okay? So it's different. And we also have other things. We have other things we're going to talk about. I wouldn't say screw them. I mean, I don't want to be that rough now.
No. You're right. They're very entertaining.
We'll be all right. We'll be cool for now. Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker, that was an amazing fight last weekend, guys. I want to talk about that. I want to talk about Mike Perry winning with his girlfriend as his corner person. One person in his corner. His girlfriend is not a professional fighter or a professional coach. She's just his girlfriend. Those are the qualifications for Mike Perry's girlfriend cornering him. And he still won in a co-main event of a UFC show, albeit a pretty low-rent UFC show last weekend, aside from that main event. But we'll talk about Mike Perry and what he's up to. We'll also talk about the new COVID testing and the new precautions that the UFC is putting into place for this Fight Island. And I want to play a clip from Dustin Poirier talking pretty candidly about the fight game and about what fighting is and the toll that it takes on the human body. Pretty honest stuff from Dustin Poirier. Guys, was that the fight of the year last weekend? I'm looking at a lot of different fights that we've seen this year. Of course, we've seen all the big ones. And leading into this, I thought fight of the year was probably Zhang Wei Li against Joanna Jędrzejczyk from UFC 248. An incredible fight. I thought Tony Ferguson and Justin Gaethje at UFC 249 was another amazing battle between two of the world's best. But this Dustin Poirier-Dan Hooker fight, the mix of martial arts, the stand-up game, the variety in kicks and punches and elbows that they threw, the ground game, Hooker going for the takedowns, Poirier wrapping up the guillotine, almost getting that guillotine on a couple of occasions, almost getting an arm bar when he was pinned against the fence there, didn't quite have room to finish the arm bar. There was a little bit of everything. There was jiu-jitsu, there was wrestling, there was boxing, there was kickboxing. There was everything in this fight, and both guys, gave it and took in that fight. It was a vicious beating on both sides. Dustin Poirier comes out the winner by decision, but, I was really impressed with Dan Hooker. I thought he came out and delivered a career performance, just a brilliant, brilliant fight. One of the best fights you'll ever see in the UFC. I was watching this card knowing that the Poirier-Hooker fight was going to be great, but this was crazy, man. This was a really good fight, and I was watching it, and it's one of those fights where you're watching it and you realize as this fight is going on and as they keep fighting at that pace, you're witnessing history. You're watching this fight. Yep. It's like, whoa, this is something special. This isn't just a good fight. This is one of the greatest fights of all time. And I'm very happy that I was able to see that fight live, able to watch it on TV. We were all, as fight fans, very lucky to have seen such a great performance by two tremendous warriors there in Poirier and Hooker. That fight was history, and I would say, fight of the year. And one of the fights, early candidate for fight of the decade, right? We're in 2020, but I would, put it down as one of the fights of the decade. Hooker and Poirier so far.
Year, it has to be fight of the decade.
That's true.
There's only 1 year.
That's correct. It is fight of the decade. But right, the Zhang Weili fight, the other fights I mentioned, I think this one was better. Go ahead, Fred.
Let me go against you because I feel AJ is just going to agree because he loved the fight also. And I loved the fight also. It was a great fight. The action delivered. Hooker, the first 2 rounds, I thought was doing very good, where I thought he was going to go towards a win. And then Poirier turned the tide around, and it was a great fight. The only thing I'll take a little offense to, I'll just say, for the fight to be one of the greatest of all time, there has to be a little bit more anticipation on it. And unfortunately, it's not a big fight. Dustin Poirier and Dustin Hooker is a nice fight, but it's not a title fight. It's not a fight that draws attention from mainstream media or anything. So the spectacle delivered. It was excellent, but I'm not going to put it as far as one of the greatest all-time fights. 2020, yeah, because this year has been a headache. A lot of fights have been canceled. Mm-hmm. Events have been a little bit weird. So yeah, this is the best fight this year, but I'm not going to put it as far as it's. I didn't do my top 5, but I would say it's definitely not in my top 5.
Well, what's your greatest fight of all time then, friend? If you were to throw one out there, just off the top of your head, what would be the greatest fight of all time? Is it a big anticipated title fight? What? Yeah. What's the criteria?
I'll go either I'll go to the fights I've been to. UFC 94 to me was incredible because of the anticipation. The spectacle was so-so. George St. Pierre dominated BJ Penn. But to me, that was so much hype behind that fight. That goes into one of my greatest fights ever. Conor McGregor, Jose Aldo, that thing was promoted for years. The fight itself lasted only a couple of seconds, but the promotion,
but the fight itself.
But yeah.
But Dave, listen, guys, you said something when you start.
Greatest of all time, man. It has to be anticipated also.
I would say, if I think about greatest fights of all time, sorry, AJ, I just want to throw a couple out there. I would go with Shogun and Dan Henderson, because those fights, the first one especially, was just insane. And Gustafsson and Jones, the first one, was pretty nuts, too. For the light heavyweight title, that was a high-profile fight, and that fight was a war. Go ahead, AJ.
Well, you know what? Since I'm going to jump the gun here, but let's not forget fights like Frank Mir against Brock Lesnar and things like that people were watching from all over, and that blew out everybody's anticipation of what Brock Lesnar was and how the fight ended. So now going back to what you said in the beginning of the show, you said 2020, yeah, it's been a crazy year. A pandemic going on, worldwide sports coming down to nothing. And the only one that survived through it all was the UFC. And the real winner out of all the fights is the UFC. Because if you look at the beginning of 2020, man, we got to see Poirier fighting last week against Hooker, which
Mm-hmm.
turned out to be one of the top fights probably of this decade, I think. And then
Well,
you look at other
yeah,
fights.
but-
You look at, well, we got 9 years to
that's
go, but
fine.
let's be
Okay.
honest.
We got
Let's
how
be
many
honest.
years? How many years?
9. What are we in
Okay.
2020? 10.
Okay.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Well,
But
9
you know
and a
what I'm
half.
talking about. Anyways, listen, but you're 9.5. Thank you. But listen to this.
I thought you said
Look at the
5. I was
fights
like,
that-
do you know how much a decade is? But that's okay. Go on.
Look, you had so many great fights, man. Let's not forget
Yeah.
John Jones, and Dominic Reyes, man.
Yes.
And that is like one of the top fights. We
Mm-hmm.
saw Ferguson versus Gaethje, which was a firework fight that, like, people were saying throw in the towel for Ferguson, and he kept going, and you didn't know where it was going. And then you look at Weili Zhang against Joanna, which some people consider to be not because it's a female fight, but as a fight, it's probably considered one of the top fights, or probably the best fight. And then here we got Poirier again with Hooker. And you know what? 2020 might have sucked worldwide in sports, but in the UFC, they're banging out like blockbusters.
Yeah,
and you know what?
yeah.
The bottom line, people have a lot more respect for Dustin Poirier and Hooker on last week's fight. And there's such a new fan base for these guys because people got to see something where you don't see anymore in any other combat sport. You don't see that in the other organizations. You don't see that even in boxing anymore.
Once a couple of years.
Once a couple of years, but we seen five top fights in the beginning of 2020, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, go ahead, Fred.
I was gonna say this fight just reminded me more of a style like if you remember a Korean Zombie and Leonard Garcia. They had this classic.
No. This was more technical than that.
Better quality.
Better
quality, but
yeah,
it's still it was a good fight. Look,
it was a fantastic fight. And I think AJ raises a really good point in that this year for sports has been terrible, right? Sports shut down in what? Mid-February? Mid-March? I don't even remember at this point. It's been so long that we've been living like this. It's hard to remember when it started. There's no end in sight. And the UFC...
It was supposed to be 2 weeks.
Yeah, it was supposed to be a couple weeks. We'd be back to normal. Everybody would be back in the studio. Meanwhile, it's been months. You guys haven't been here, and I'm seeing Acme Tunes on the chat. Shout out to Acme Tunes. He says UFC is killing this empty arena era of pro sports, and I agree. They've put on some really good fights and some really good events throughout the year in a year that's been pretty devoid of any good sporting events. There's been nothing, but the UFC has brought some pretty great fights. That Poirier-Hooker fight was incredible. The Zhang Weili Joanna Jędrzejczyk fight, another great one. Ferguson and Gaethje, fantastic. We've seen some really good fights this year. John Jones, Dominic Reyes, Conor McGregor, Donald Cerrone. I mean, we have seen some big things in the past 6 months from the UFC. It's just in the past, say, month to 2 months, we've seen a lot of their stars drop out. And I think that's really the main theme that's overshadowed everything in the UFC is how many people have either retired or been kind of shelved due to contract issues with the UFC. We look at John Jones, Conor McGregor, Amanda Nunes, Henry Cejudo, Jorge Masvidal, and the list goes on of the top stars in the UFC who have no fight signed right now, who have no plans to sign a fight or even negotiate with the UFC currently, and are on the outside looking in semi-retirement, if not outright retirement. Conor did say he was retired. No one believes him, but he hasn't fought since he announced it, and no fight's been announced, so I don't know. But I think that's the big story of 2020, at least so far. I really hope that when we recap the year, it isn't the big story and something else is the big story. Like, can you believe we have full arenas again and the coronavirus has just disappeared? Isn't that crazy? I hope that's the story. I'm not that optimistic.
I think something could be said about appreciating these empty arena fights because it gives us another perspective where you don't have all the noise of the crowd and you're hearing the fighters, you're hearing the corner yell more and all that. I kind of appreciate like this type of broadcasting. But with that said, if we want the big stars back, we need the crowds, we need the big pay-per-view sales. So yeah, I hope it's going to get back to normal quicker than slower because right now it's an issue. Not getting all these, like, if I'm Jorge Masvidal, I want my next fight to be my biggest payday. And right now the situation maybe doesn't like give me that opportunity. So if I'm Jorge Masvidal, if I'm John Jones, if I'm Conor McGregor, I'm waiting. I'm waiting this out because one loss, two loss, your value goes down. Maybe not for a McGregor, but I mean, if you're like Jorge Masvidal, you're at the top of your value right now. You want to cash that in. And is it worth it if you're not going to make that much money? I don't know. So right now, you're right. That's the biggest story, the fact that fighters are not fighting.
Freddie, in fact, if you look at Dustin Poirier, you had an interview with Ariel Helwani, and he was like talking about that exact thing, about the thing that he's had over close to 40 fights in his career. And, you know, I think you're going to show a clip after, Dave, but I'm sure it has to do with health and whatnot. But if you look at it, you know, his biggest beef, and I think it's coming out too, is money. He's talking about, like, you know, getting just paid to show up. That's not enough for guys that might have, like, serious health issues in the future. And you know what? Now is the time to realize that these fighters stepped up to the game when they could. Other fighters would have liked to fight, but they were on other parts of the world where they couldn't travel. But the bottom line is that the UFC was there to promote sports when no one else can, and these fighters should be compensated accordingly. You know, I mean, look.
Yes, I agree. I agree, and I want to give the UFC credit at the same time. I think that the UFC are grossly underpaying their fighters, and they are not giving enough of a percentage of the revenues back to the fighters. I think it's something in the 12 to 18% range, and that is too low. They should be giving more of the revenue to the fighters. However, I want to give the UFC credit and say, if you're signed to another professional MMA organization, you are shit out of luck. You are not fighting right now. You're not getting a paycheck. And you can laugh, but these fighters that are signed to these other promotions, they're not laughing. They're not happy. And I'm sure a lot of these guys that are signed to Bellator, the PFL, whatever, are sitting there thinking, you know, UFC isn't the best, but if I were in the UFC, I might be getting a fight right now. And for a lot of these guys, like the PFL said, they're not going to start fighting again till spring 2021. They canceled their entire season for the year. So if you're signed to that promotion and you're a professional fighter, you're not fighting this year. And that sucks, like, right? So I got to give the UFC credit in one way. You know, they have managed to put on shows during this pandemic. They haven't had massive outbreaks in their company. They have been testing. They are upping their testing and making it more rigorous. And they continue to put on shows, they continue to put on great fights, and they continue to get fighters paid. Not as much as they should be paid, Dana, but fighters at least are fighting, and as fight fans, we get to see fights because the UFC has pressed on. There's good and there's bad. And the UFC, you know, we shit on the UFC. A lot of people, you know, knock the UFC, but you got to give credit where it's due. They are putting fights on, and people aren't getting coronavirus left and right from these UFC shows. So, you know, all these people saying, well, it's not safe and they shouldn't do it and this and that. They've done a bunch of shows and it seems all right. And let me just tell you, before we go on, about the new testing that they're doing. So they're going to Fight Island in Abu Dhabi, right? If you're from the United States flying to Abu Dhabi, you have to first stop in Las Vegas where you're tested for coronavirus. If you test positive, forget the fight. If you test negative, you stay in Vegas for 2 days, quarantine for 2 days, and then you fly out to Abu Dhabi where you are tested immediately when you get there. If you are a fighter from Brazil, you go to Sao Paulo, where it's the same thing. You're tested, you stay for 2 days, then you go to Abu Dhabi and you're tested again. And if you're from Europe, you're either going to go to London or Moscow, where you stop, you're tested, you stay for 2 days, and then you're off to Abu Dhabi where you're tested again so you can fight. So the UFC, they're taking extra precautions. They're doing all the tests. And so far, everything's gone all right. And a lot of people are knocking the UFC, but I was happy that they were doing this because I wanted to see fights. I'm selfish, okay? I said if the UFC can do this safely, why why not? Why stop them? I'm always under the impression of logic prevails. If the UFC can do something safely, let them do it. If they can't, well, then don't do it. But the UFC seemed to have a big idea, with how they were going to do things. They implemented their plan, and so far, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, it's turned out, and we've seen a bunch of great fights.
Listen, we were talking with... No, listen, we were talking with...
Positive.
A couple corner guys?
A couple corner guys. But other than that, it's going to happen with the amount of numbers that are involved in this organization, but still they managed to handle it really well. And in fact, what I was going to say is, a couple episodes back, we had Charles Jourdain and Fabio talking about even their time slots to go to the pool where the UFC regulated everything, where no one was in contact with each other. So they did a really great job in management, because if they didn't, we would have all kinds of problems 14 days later from the quarantine stages to where we are now. So you know what? A lot of athletes, well, I'd say a lot of sport organizations were looking at the model of the UFC, and you know what? You got to give it to Dana White. He handled it really, really well, regardless of what you think of him. And I think he did awesome.
You know what?
He's doing a better job than WWE.
I think he is doing a better job than WWE, because more people from WWE are getting tested now, and they're testing positive, and it seems like the WWE wasn't...
their tests were awful at the beginning.
Yeah, apparently they weren't
even testing.
No, they were just checking your temperature. That's all they were doing. They weren't even testing. I was under the impression they were testing everybody like the UFC. Wrong. That's not what they were doing. Vince McMahon, by God. And you know what gets me about this is, like, Vince is over 70. He's, like, at high risk to die from coronavirus. Doesn't seem that concerned. Dana White, he's a guy in his 40s, maybe 50s at this point. I don't know how old Dana is, but, he's not really at risk, and he's doing more serious testing. It's pretty wild. I'm seeing people on the chat. I'm seeing Woods MMA UK. Shout out to Woods MMA UK. Shout out to Mad Dog Vachon. Rest in peace, Mad Dog. Daniel Winston, our man out in Texas. Daniel Winston says there's a boxing match on tonight on ESPN right now. Jumped on the Super Chat. Thank you, Daniel. We appreciate everybody jumping on the Super Chat. Patrick C. Hamilton says he's here. He jumps on the Super Chat. Thank you, Patrick. We appreciate you. Acme Tunes is there as well. A lot of people on the chat tonight. We appreciate you all supporting the channel. I didn't know that there was boxing on ESPN right now. Well, good for them, man. Good for them. You know that there's going to be... So Daniel Winston also wanted to know our picks for UFC on July 11th in Abu Dhabi, UFC 251. Just so everybody knows, next week we will do our picks for UFC 251, because next week will be our UFC 251 preview show, right? And we'll do a watch-along for UFC 251 as well on July 11th for the pay-per-view at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, Saturday, July 11th. I'll be here. Freddie will be here. AJ will be here right on the channel. And we will be doing that UFC 251 watch-along. So next week we'll be big. We'll be previewing UFC 251 next Thursday night at 8 for Ringside Report. And then we'll be doing the watch-along next Saturday. Usman and Burns. Gilbert Burns, candidate for Fighter of the Year, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
What did you want to say, AJ?
I was going to say is that, it's hard to say what our picks are going to be, because you never know how the card is going to remain. I mean, the names are there, but until it's fight night, because of all these problems, I mean, they lost 2 fighters already for Fight Island already, I think on the undercard or whatnot, but you never know. So, I mean, things change in a week. We have to make sure that they're healthy, and then we'll go with our picks.
Well, give me a quick pick. Well, let's do quick picks here. Freddie, let's go around the table. Usman, Burns, real quick. I'm going with Gilbert Burns, new champion. What do you guys think?
Yep, I agree with you on this. He's on fire, and
Freddie?
He's going to prove it.
I'll go with Usman.
All right. Well, it's not official.
Freddie.
It's not official until next week,
right.
Fred. It's okay. We'll talk about it again next week.
Okay,
this is quick picks.
Freddie,
This is quick picks, AJ. You don't have to debate it. Debate it next week. Don't worry. This is just a quick pick, all right? Putting you on the spot. Volkanovski, Holloway 2, the rematch. I think Volkanovski takes it again.
Yep.
Yeah. AJ?
Listen, I'm going to go the other way on this one. I'm going with Holloway because he knows the game plan, and he's going to show what Max is all about again.
Peter Yan, Jose Aldo for the bantamweight title.
Woo!
I'm going with Peter Yan. Aldo's great,
Yeah,
but he's just not the same, you know?
Peter Yan is the beast, man,
Yeah.
and he's going to prove it against Aldo.
That's it. How about Jessica Andrade against Rose Namajunas? Woo, by God,
Woo,
that's a good
gonna
fight.
be a good one. Yeah. You know what? I not to take it away from Andrade, but like I really like Rose. I like the way she is as a fighter and everything. But it's going to be close, this one.
I got Andrade.
I can't really comment.
I got Andrade. Comment. Give me a pick.
Okay, I'm going with Rose on
Is
this
this
one.
Rose's first fight since her title loss?
I think so.
Back? I think it's her first fight.
Yeah, since Andrade.
I'll go Rose. I hope Rose wins.
Hey, guys, you realize the last time she fought was getting knocked out by Jessica Andrade with a knockout slam.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I'm going with Andrade because she beat her in her last fight. I don't know how. Amanda Ribas versus Paige Van Zandt. I'm going with Amanda Ribas. She's going to come in and beat Paige Van Zandt big time.
Man, she's a major underdog, man. If you're looking for, I think so.
This is a setup fight, man. They're trying to set Paige up and kick her out of the UFC.
No, it's not. No, I apologize. She's a massive favorite. I apologize on that.
Oh, yeah.
Ribas is the
minus
massive
900 I'm seeing right now. Amanda Ribas minus 900, Paige Van Zandt plus 600. What did I tell you guys? This is a setup fight for Paige Van Zandt because this is what they do. When they have stars that are on the last fight of their contract that they know are looking to explore other options, they fuck them with a fight that's way too tough for them, and they destroy them so they have no bargaining power, and that's what they're doing to poor, sweet Paige Van Zandt.
Yeah, but didn't Paige like this, like the UFC and Dana White, not like last couple of weeks ago?
Because she knows what they're doing to her. She knows. Well, this is a setup. Yeah. I hope Paige wins. I really do. Go Paige Van Zandt. She's great. Who doesn't like Paige Van Zandt? Mike Perry won with his girlfriend in his corner.
What girlfriend?
I mean, if your girlfriend's Paige Van Zandt, you know, if you're that Austin Van Zandt, you know, her husband there, who's an MMA fighter, okay, you have Paige Van Zandt in your corner. That makes sense. But Mike Perry's girlfriend, Latori Gonzalez, does not have a professional or amateur MMA record. She's not a coach in MMA, but she cornered him, said, "You're doing real good," and he won. He won his fight against Mickey Gall last Saturday night.
She said as much as some renowned MMA coaches that we know. So that doesn't say much. I'm going to tell you something. Personally, I like Mike Perry's old wife. She was awesome. She used to be in there jumping, screaming, throwing out her shit from like the corner. Yeah. It was awesome. This one was so quiet.
But was she a fighter? I thought she was in the fight game. Was she not? I don't know what her deal was.
I don't think so, man.
So she was in his corner too. And they called her the Platinum Princess because he was Platinum Mike Perry, and he had this girlfriend who was tall and blonde who was always in his corner, and you're like, who's that lady? Yeah. And it's like, oh, that's the Platinum Princess. I was under the impression that she was like at least training or something. I don't know what her deal was, but when she was in his corner, he had like a real coach in his corner too. This time he shows up just with this little girl in his corner, and she's his girlfriend. She's his new girlfriend. And like she's his coach. It was just weird, man. Why? I would want a coach. Guys, if you guys were fighting in MMA, first of all, would you let your girlfriends corner you? And second of all, wouldn't you want... No, I never would, right? Never, ever in a million years. What's she going to tell me? How's she going to help me in a fight? I want somebody there... Stop. You want to stop? I think you should stop. I think you should probably stop. Why did you even sign up for this? I told you not to sign up for this. I don't want that. I don't need that in between rounds, okay? So I don't want her cornering me at all. I want somebody who could give me some advice, somebody like Phil Jelena, who was on our show last week. I'd have Phil in my corner. You know, I would ask him to be in my corner. Somebody like that, you know, a guy who's been in martial arts his whole life, who's, you know, not my girlfriend. I don't know what Mike Perry was thinking, but hey, it seemed to work. So good for Mike Perry. He seems to want to fight Nate Diaz. He wants to fight Nate Diaz next. That's a bad idea. What do you mean it didn't work? He won the fight. The fight was awful, though.
He didn't exactly. So it didn't really work. And to be honest, you know, it could have went either or. You know what? I don't know if it was called a domination. It was really like, wow. It wasn't like the Mike Perry that I remember seeing in the early days of Mike Perry. He looked slower. He like his punches were like so angled, boxy at time. It was just like, I don't know, man. You know what? Mike Perry needs to get into a good fight camp and really up his game, because this guy has so much potential that's being lost. If you're looking at him as a fighter, seriously, it's a shame. What?
He doesn't have
Who's
that
he with?
much potential, man. Look,
well, he did when he first started. He was exciting.
He's a nice little fighter, and I completely agree. Like, I would personally want a coach in my corner. But with that said, let's appreciate Mike Perry, the gimmick, because that's what he is. He's a gimmick. Like, he's a character. He's fun. He's funny, and I hope he gets that Nate Diaz fight. Of course, I think Nate will beat him, but at the same time, like I was telling Dave off the air, I think Nate needs a rebound fight, and Mike Perry might be that perfect rebound fight for Nate Diaz. With that said, let's appreciate Mike Perry, the gimmick, because if Mike Perry, I'm not sure what's happening.
No, that was me. That was me.
Hey, what's happening? Mike
Sorry,
Perry's
that was me.
calling in. I thought he was coming into the studio.
If Mike Perry were to pull off an upset and beat Nate, that would just help his career. And if Nate beats Mike Perry, I mean, it's a nice little win for him. So that's the fight I want to see. I want to see Mike Perry versus Nate Diaz.
That would be a joke of a fight. Come on, man. Come on.
Look, the best part of Mike Perry's fight, Freddie, the best part of Mike Perry's fight was his after-fight interview when he was talking about his tax problems and this and that. And at the end of it all said and done, he walks away with $6. He can't even buy a Big Mac trio with $6. That was the best part of his interview. In fact, I couldn't really understand most of it because it was like out to lunch. But you know what? He brought up a good point. But man, Mike Perry, man, he's something.
Yeah, that was
he's a character.
I don't know.
He's a gimmick.
He's a character.
Let's appreciate it.
I don't know what that was, man.
Let's laugh and let's have fun. Just grab some popcorn and enjoy the show. He'll give you good press conferences.
I'm a Mike Perry
fan. I know he's not a great fighter, but I want to see everything around him. So
I'd like to see Mike Perry and John Jones in Russia at some nightclub. That's what I like to see with a hidden camera. Now that'll be a party.
I'm not buying into this at all. I'm not impressed by his performance at all.
To fight you in the near future.
I'm not impressed.
But I'm not impressed by your performance.
Yeah, I'm not impressed, all right? I'm not impressed by his performance. That's how I feel.
That's a classic.
That's how I feel about Mike Perry.
But I'm not impressed by your performance, and I look forward to fight you in the near future.
Yeah, I'm not impressed by your performance, Mike Perry, and I don't look forward to seeing you fight in the near future. I really don't care. I wasn't impressed by most people's performance on that UFC card last weekend. The main event was incredible. The rest of the card I thought was subpar. I thought we were watching some low-level MMA fighters. I didn't think it was a very good fight card as far as quality of fights, quality of fighters. That Maurice Green-John Vellante fight was an absolute joke ski. What a finish there. That was terrible, man. How are you going to get arm triangled from the top half? You're in top half guard, and you get arm triangled. Get out of here. Anybody does that to me, I'll walk off the mats and never come back. Get out of here, man. Unless you're like some crazy black belt who could pull with a crazy squeeze, who's got like 100 pounds of muscle on me, forget about it, man. You're on top. You're winning the fight. You're John Vellante. You're a professional mixed martial artist. You're getting caught with that bullshit? Come on, dude. That's embarrassing, dude. Is that not embarrassing?
Absolutely, and that's the problem. John Vellante went into heavyweight. He should have stayed down. There's no reason for him to go into heavyweight in his first fight. He looked horrible. He looked out of shape. And to be submitted in the way he did, you're absolutely right. Any grappler in any type of grappling sport should not be caught with that. Mind you, Olenek has caught other UFC fighters with kind of the same type of submissions.
Yeah, but that's Alexei Olenek. That's Alexei Olenek. That's not Maurice Green, dude. Get out of here.
Dana.
Oh, you're
Dana
right. You're right.
Tell all the guys that say that he's underpaying people. You should just say, "Yo, I gave John Vellante $75,000." Because like, if John Vellante is getting $75,000, that's overpaid.
For real,
look
man.
At him. He didn't look like seriously. He didn't look in shape at all. He doesn't look like an athlete. You're giving him $75,000.
That was a fucking joke, man. I can't believe that happened. I cannot believe he got tapped out with an arm triangle from top half. Get at it. I saw him. I was like, nah, it's top half. Just like get out. You'll be all right. Just get out. Just like pass to side. What? And he tapped? I was like, no, man, you don't do that. That was so crazy.
Listen,
God. AJ, has that ever happened? It's never happened to me. It's never happened to me. Has that ever happened to you?
I've seen it happen. Never to me, but I've seen it happen in early days of jiu-jitsu with some guys from catch wrestling.
Early
guys
days.
That had barrel chest.
Sure.
Early days. Where guys had barrel chest, like they really had barrel chest, and they would be able to do like a front, like headlock, like squeeze, to submission kind of thing. But the thing is, it's very rare that you see that shit, except for Olenek, who can pull it off. But this guy has an actual technique behind his chokes. This choke by Morris Green was basically, I'm going to put so much pressure on you, and Gian Vellante was so tired that he just wanted to give up.
Squeeze to death. Just like, just grab and squeeze. Just like, I have his arm, I have his neck. Let me just squeeze as hard as I can and fucking throw a Hail Mary because it's the end of the fight and I'm on bottom and I don't have the energy to stand up. So let me just try to muscle this fight to the end. And oh shit, he tapped. That's crazy. Vellante had no energy. But like, come on.
Fight it.
But Fred,
that's why
Fred.
I know, I agree.
How embarrassed would you be? How embarrassed would you be if on national television somebody did that to you?
That was the biggest.
Oh my God! Poor John Vellante.
Biggest issue was he's out of shape and he wasn't supposed to be like.
Look, man, I feel bad because now he's got guys like us clowning him. There's guys in jiu-jitsu gyms all over the world. Well, not now, but like, jiu-jitsu guys are talking to each other after that fight, sending each other fucking images, being like, yo, this guy just got tapped by arm triangle in top half. Can you believe that shit? Everybody's just laughing, Oh, poor John Vellante. I'm sorry, John Vellante. You'll live to fight another day. Imagine that happening to you. Like, look, it happens. You get caught with weird shit. It can happen. It happens to the best of us. You're not thinking, and then all of a sudden you realize, damn, this choke is deeper than I thought. I guess I got to tap here. It happens, okay? But like to happen on national TV, that move, oh, God, that's got to be embarrassing. Poor Vellante.
Listen, that's just as embarrassing as the same level of that choke as someone like going to the washroom in a fight, and we've seen that happen where guys are like, "Oh, okay, that's it. I'm out of the fight. I can't fight this guy anymore because of the bowel movement problems." But you know what? That fight is such a shame because if you look at the fights prior, you look at Takashi Sato's fight. Now that was an exciting fight. It ended quick, but this guy should have been up closer to the main card than the Morris Green and Gian Vellante fight. There's no doubt about it. For heavyweights, it was nothing exciting.
Yeah.
Nothing exciting.
It was pretty bad. It was a pretty bad fight. Let's hear from Dustin Poirier, that clip we were talking about earlier. This is Poirier talking to ESPN, talking about, the toll that a fight like this could take on you. It was an incredible performance. I see Daniel Winston is on the Super Chat. Thank you, Daniel. He says, what did you think about Dan Hooker's performance last week? I thought it was incredible. I thought Poirier's performance was incredible. It was the fight of the year, but those types of fights you can't have forever. Those types of fights you don't really want. You don't want to have the fight of the year when you go into a fight. You want to knock a guy out like Takashi Sato did in the first round, get out of there in under a minute, so then you could live to fight another day. If you finish your fights quick, you have more of those. I mean, it's way easier to have like 100 fights that you finish in 10 seconds with a knockout rather than 100 fights like Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker had last weekend. You can't do that. You can't sustain an MMA career forever off fights like that. And, fighters don't often talk about it, but here's a clip from ESPN, Dustin Poirier talking about that and talking about his fight.
I don't know how many fights I have left. I still feel young. I still feel great, fresh. I love what I do. But I do not want to continue for another 5 years fighting fights like I just fought. Because I don't want to love this so much that it kills me, Then you use that word lightly. I don't mean I'm going to die in there, like I said. I just mean it's going to take something that I can't get back. Not only from me, but from the ones I love. That's what I'm more worried about. I want to be there for my daughter forever. I want to be there for my wife. I don't want to start fading away, mentally or anything like that. And I just know that that's a reality with what we do in combat sports, I'm just not, I don't beat around the bush. I know that that's a possibility, and I know that what I'm doing isn't good. for myself. So I talk about it openly.
There's Dustin Poirier, man. Those are real words. You don't really hear fighters talk about that type of stuff, wanting to be there for their families, mentally. Brain damage, man. Brain damage is real, and Dustin Poirier took brain damage. Dustin Poirier and Dan Hooker both took brain damage on Saturday night, and that's something that you can't ignore, and that's something that you can't have happen to you that many times in your life, man. You can't go through a car crash every 6 months.
No, man. But if you take Mike Perry's interview and Dustin Poirier, you realize that Dustin Poirier is like far away from any type of brain damage. But when you really look at his career, joke aside, he's close to 40 fights, man, and they've always been wars. I mean, Poirier has always been fighting a war. And to be honest, he knows that like his career is coming closer to an end than anything. And, this guy is a great example if he were to be a champion, even as a fighter who he is. People love this guy. I love Poirier. I remember Poirier way back in the days, like I said, when they did his biography on him, and you saw his development as a fighter coming up the ranks, and like like he says himself, he's an old school fighter, and he fights because he enjoys the sport. But again, you don't want to be a fighter that enjoys the sport of fighting so much that you can't even be able to hold your kids in about 10 years from now. That's the sad part. He knows it, man. And he should be paid for what he's doing, because that fight there shouldn't have been just a fight for show and fight night bonus or whatever it is. He should be paid as a main card fight like boxing does, because that was a beautiful fight.
I just want to say,
and Hooker as well.
Watching Poirier against Derek Gautier for Ringside MMA. So that's how far.
Imagine.
That's
Poirier crazy, man.
Down. And,
whoa, that was crazy. Look, yeah, that's true. That happened that was a long time ago, man. I remember that. That was 2010. He knocked out Derek Gautier. That's wild, man. Dustin Poirier, way back then, fought in Montreal before he was in WEC even. That's right. I forgot about that.
And I remember him after going to WEC, and I was like right away knowing, this guy has talent. This guy could power. He looks in shape. Like right from the beginning, you could see he looked in shape. He looked like an athlete. He's a great fighter, had a great career, and good for him if he's already thinking of retirement. He made $300,000 for this fight, 150 to show up, 150 win bonus. I would hope he'd make a little bit more. Still a decent payday, but good for him that he's thinking about his future and he's not going to stay too long. I'm happy to hear guys always thinking of their after career.
It's a decent payday. I mean, it's more money than we're going to make this year, right? I mean, $300,000 in one night. I mean, we're not making $300,000 in a year. You know what I'm saying? Unless you keep hitting up that super chat, keep supporting the channel. Don't forget, when you need a VPN, when you need a VPN, go to vpn.ringsidereport.net. vpn.ringsidereport.net. IPVanish is the VPN that you need. Support the channel. Support our sponsors. Go to vpn.ringsidereport right now. Protect yourself on the internet. Browse the internet as if you're anywhere in the world. You see those videos that are not available in your area? That won't happen if you have a VPN. Go to IPVanish. Follow our link, vpn.ringsidereport.net. Help us make that Dustin Poirier money, okay?
Mm-hmm. Show me the money!
We want to look as good as Oprah's bank account. Money! You hear that song? You guys don't know what I'm talking about, right? Have you heard that song, Oprah's bank account? The video is really good. It's by Lil Yachty. Fantastic. I really like that song. I would play it, but it would get us a copyright strike on YouTube, which, as we found out last week, the UFC tried to copyright strike us last week, but we prevailed. We prevailed.
Why, man? I don't understand. What the hell happened, man? What's up?
I don't know.
Our competition is mad at us or what?
It was the commercial.
Patrick C. Hamilton hooking it up on the super chat, dropping a super chat, just saying, here you go. He's trying to bring us to that Dustin Poirier level, trying to make $300,000 in a year. That would be amazing,
I want Rogan money.
About $300 million in a year. Yeah.
Yeah, man, Rogan.
Yeah,
Rogan, give us a shout out, man.
But I mean, come on, guys. If you made $300,000 in a year, you'd be rich, right? That's rich. Is that not rich?
I'd be happy, man.
I'd be rich.
I'd take
be like,
you guys
holy
out
shit.
to Barbie
It'd be
Barnes.
the best year of my life.
Yeah, right.
Dave, I'll take you to Barbie Barnes on me. Barbie Barnes on me.
Well, we'd have to go to the one in the West Island because they shut the downtown one down.
You know what? What is with that shit? That's what I wanted to throw in Barbie Barnes. Why would you close the downtown historical?
You know,
Now I can't take
it's
out my friends.
It's my
Sorry,
buddy
guys, I tried.
Jeremy Barnoff's family Barbie barn, eh? Barnoff, the wrestler, Black Dynamite from the Black Québécois. Yeah.
You're kidding me. We had him on studio. Remember that? He was awesome.
He's a good man. It's his family.
Didn't know. Why don't you get us? We could have got a couple of coupons from him. What is that? Is that fur on your shoe?
There's a new Yeezys. I got these today. They just came in. Yeezy Quantums. Pretty fresh. Pretty nice. Fred, what do you think?
Why don't you get them to sponsor us?
Yeezy? Yeah, that'd be nice, eh?
They're nice, but the fact that you always seem to win the raffles make me wonder, how many people actually want to win?
Oh, a lot of people tried to get these, man. These were hard to get. I'm telling you, these were hard to get. I won a raffle to get the chance to buy.
You ever lose a raffle?
To buy. Oh,
you
yeah.
ever lose one?
Oh, many times. You have no idea how many raffles I've entered. I enter so many raffles for shoes, and I never win. When I won this raffle for shoes, I was like, what? I won this one? The Quantums? I can't believe I got the Quantums. These are really cool, man. They're comfortable as hell. They are just nuts. They are crazy looking shoes.
Us, then? They should be promoting our show. If you want to raffle to win fighting shoes, seriously, Dave?
Did you see the new Kanye West video?
Get the $300,000 if you keep spending your money on that.
I know. I'm sorry.
Down every time.
I know. And I'm not. I'm not making $300,000 a year. So this shoe collection really puts a dent in my. It's okay. It's okay. I just don't eat for a couple weeks when I get a new pair of shoes. It's fine. I get used to lose a couple lbs.
That's the spirit, Dave. That's the way you do it.
That's right. I starve for my art, baby. Keep supporting the Super Chat so I can eat this week. I have kids, baby. I have kids. Okay. Guys, what else do we have here to talk about? Who should be more worried? Bill Clinton or Donald Trump now that Ghislaine Maxwell was arrested by the FBI? Oh, that's not MMA. That's not MMA. Did you see the list of people that went to Epstein's Island? So Ghislaine Maxwell was like Epstein's girlfriend and also, alleged enabler and assister in, she would assist him and do things with young girls, underage girls and all sorts of stuff that she's accused of. The FBI has arrested her. You know that she knows names. You know that she's seen things. But she's definitely been accused of a lot of stuff. If you saw that Epstein documentary on Netflix, you know what I'm talking about. So this Ghislaine Maxwell has been this mysterious figure, and then she was arrested today, which I think is kind of wild, man. That's a story to follow. You got to see what's going to happen to her. I saw somebody post on Twitter.
You think she's going to jail?
Somebody posted on, I don't know what's going to happen, but somebody posted on Twitter is like, oh, did you see that next week Ghislaine Maxwell killed herself? It's like, yeah. Fuck.
Suicide hotline needs to block Hillary's number. That's my favorite.
Bill Clinton, Donald Trump. I mean, there's so many pictures of her with Epstein, Trump, and Melania. Trump, Bill Clinton.
I know. Chelsea Clinton. She was invited at the marriage of.
I know, Fred.
If
I see all the things that you like.
Your marriage.
See, that's the great thing about you, Fred. I see all the things that you like on Twitter. For some reason, they always pop up on my Twitter feed. And Fred, when the Ghislaine news broke, Fred's liking all the things that has Ghislaine pictures with Bill Clinton. Yet I'm also seeing a lot of pictures of Ghislaine with Donald Trump. But mysteriously, Fred doesn't like those people posting. He's only liking the Bill Clinton Ghislaine pictures.
Are you sure it's Ghislaine or Giz? Is it Ghislaine? I think it's Ghislaine.
I think it's Ghislaine.
I think
it's Ghislaine, but
yeah,
I'm mispronouncing.
From Quebec.
Ghislaine?
She's from Quebec.
She's not. She's from France.
She's probably from Quebec. What are you talking about?
She's from France, bro. Don't stain our province with her name.
French?
What?
There's no pictures of her and George St. Pierre or something like that. Please.
No.
That's all we need.
GSP's not into that.
I think she's British.
No, you're right.
But I'm not sure 100%.
You know what GSP's into it. It's not that, brother. Yeah.
But can we all agree at least that people that take advantage of underage girls or boys or whatever should be prosecuted and hopefully the book is thrown at her
to the fullest extent of the law.
Hopefully she stays alive and names, man. I don't want to hear
Fred,
one of these stories where
I think
she
that was
just
a pretty
disappears.
easy premise to throw out there for the show. Can we all agree that pedophiles are bad and probably should go to jail?
Yeah,
I
exactly.
think we're all going to agree to that, Fred. I don't think there was
Perfect.
I don't think there was any doubt there that we're all going to agree. I mean, AJ, you never know. He has some pretty crazy ideas, but I think even there, AJ was down. Apparently, Ghislaine was from England. She was the daughter of a newspaper magnate.
Who financed Romney?
And Acme Toon says Fred MAGA confirmed. LOL.
Nah, man, I'm not a big fan of Trump. I could be very critical of him also.
Fred's Twitter bio is like God first, guns, MAGA, CAGA. You know, it's like all. It's not. But like that would be hilarious. I want to do like a fake one of those. Be like God first, guns. You know, I support all the amendments and so on. And then you go on and you say ridiculous stuff. You know, like Ghislaine is innocent.
Doesn't Dana White say that?
Free Ghislaine.
But
you
listen,
know?
but how come she wasn't arrested sooner? I don't understand this. Like
They
now
couldn't
she's
find
getting
her.
up.
They couldn't find her.
Where the hell was she?
I don't know, man. I don't know, but they found her now.
What?
I just find it very suspicious. They catch her now, and then, like, what's going to happen? What's she being charged with? What's she going to say? Because you know that she knows things. There's a lot of powerful people involved with Epstein, man. I'm just curious. I'm curious to see what happens there.
You know what's going to be good? There's going to be a second episode on Netflix now for the Epstein Part 2 now. I love it.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see what happens. Tiger King and Epstein. I can't wait.
Okay, Carol Baskin killed her husband, fed him to the tigers. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself. Ghislaine Maxwell didn't kill herself. Okay, no matter what happens in the next couple of months, Ghislaine Maxwell did not kill herself, even if they tell you that she does in the future, which, you know. Speaking of crazy rumors and conspiracy theories, Joe Rogan says the UFC is going to do Israel Adesanya versus Paulo Costa on the Ultimate Fighter season. Israel's coach, though, is denying that rumor. It is going to be Adesanya versus Paulo Costa at some point this year for the UFC middleweight title. That'll be fun, but
That's going to be awesome.
Joe Rogan's got a lot of conspiracies, and one of his theories was they were going to coach the next season of the Ultimate Fighter. I ask you guys, do you give a shit about the Ultimate Fighter anymore? Would that entice you? Because it wouldn't entice me. I don't really care to see Paulo Costa and Israel Adesanya coach the Ultimate Fighter.
Why not?
Don't because I don't
Listen,
care.
man, they should have had this while it was the pandemic going. It would have been awesome. They should have put this taping last year. Like, you know, now, yeah, for sure, I'll be watching.
How you
I'm going to
do it
watch
with
that for
social
sure.
distancing?
No, but I'm saying is if they had started this earlier, it would have been awesome.
16 guys living in a house together, social distance.
That's it, man.
No,
but think about it. They'll be only them.
I'm not sure what's the last combination of coach I could name for the Ultimate Fighter. I think the last one I watched must have been Rampage and Rashad. That's how far. Like, I don't care about the Ultimate Fighter for so long. And honestly, I was surprised it's still going on. I wasn't even sure about that. Like, oh, okay.
I can't remember when the last season of the Ultimate Fighter was and who coached it. Like, what was the last one?
Wasn't it Patrick Cote against Kyle Noki?
That was not the last one.
That's like 5 years ago.
AJ, you're like really want the Ultimate Fighter to happen, and you're thinking the last one was like a season that happened like 8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Probably closer to 5.
It was Robert Whitaker and
who?
Somebody. I don't think it was Yoel Romero. But I think Robert Whitaker coached, didn't he?
Why don't they get a Team Ireland? Versus Team Cuba, like a Masvidal versus McGregor?
In 2018, Robert Whitaker and Calvin Gastelum coached a season of heavyweights and women's featherweights. And that was the last season of The Ultimate Fighter. Gastelum didn't wind up fighting, so Yoel wound up fighting Whitaker instead. That's another thing. Whenever it's always like cursed. Whenever you have two coaches of The Ultimate Fighter, they never wind up fighting in the end. I can't tell you when the last season of The Ultimate Fighter was where I actually cared. Stipe and DC coached a season? I don't remember that at all. I have no recollection. I don't think I watched it. Like the last season, I think Conor McGregor. When Conor and Uriah coached it in 2015, that was the last season that was good. Because Conor was on it, and he's awesome. He's fun to watch. He's entertainment.
There was none in 2019.
No. They did 2 in 2018. They did DC and Stipe and Whitaker and Gastelum in 2018, but they didn't do one in 2019, which led me to believe that The Ultimate Fighter was over. And they haven't started filming one in 2020, so I don't know if they even do one this year.
They might as well do it on Fight Island, man. If I'm going to be somewhere secluded for a couple of months, man, do it on Fight Island.
It's a good point.
Good point, Fred. Good point. Dana, you're listening. I know you listen to the show. So take Fred's advice.
Always take Fred's advice, Dana White. And also take our advice. Check out our friends over at Stitcher. Many of you have been using Stitcher to stream or download our shows, Wrestling Uncensored, Ringside Report MMA. Stitcher offering you the Ringside Report universe as part of their sponsorship of our work, a special offer on the premium version of their service. Besides all of our shows, you can listen to over 100,000 podcasts on your iPhone, Android, tablet, PC, Amazon Echo, or in your car on demand, ad-free with Stitcher Premium. You get Stitcher Originals, bonus episodes, comedy albums, and more. $4.99 a month, $34.99 a year. But if you go to Stitcher.com/premium right now and use the promo code RINGSIDE, you get a free month of Stitcher Premium. $4.99 a month, $34.99 a year. But if you go to Stitcher.com/premium and use the promo code RINGSIDE, you will get a free month of Stitcher Premium. Don't forget to check out Dave and Johnny Live tomorrow, where we will talk about...
What?
The top 10 greatest Canadian wrestlers of all time. Okay, we're going to do that. It was Canada Day yesterday. It's Canada Day weekend. We got the 4th of July coming up on Saturday. Happy 4th of July weekends to all of our friends in America. Hold it down.
Happy holidays.
Wear a mask. Keep a distance from your friends, but shoot off as many fireworks, eat as many hot dogs, and have as much good times as you possibly can this 4th of July weekend. Happy 4th to all of our American friends. We love you. We support you. And Freddie supports your president. So there you go. Keep Freddie great.
By the way, it's corn dogs, not just hot dogs. It's corn
all
dogs.
The dogs. You know, keep kicking ass, America. We love you. Happy 4th of July. Happy Canada Day weekend to my Canadian friends. Of course, Canada Day was yesterday. Today was Bret Hart's birthday. Tomorrow is my brother's birthday. Shout out to my brother.
Oh, yeah.
Big 3-0 for my brother. Today is the last day of his 20s, man. Hitting 30 tomorrow. You know you're old when your little brother's 30. You know, that's when it's like, oh, shit. Okay, it's all happening now. So, I remember when he was born, and now he's 30, so it's weird.
Actually, in the beginning, I thought he was your older brother. I thought Ben was your older brother.
A lot of people think that, but he's not. He's my younger brother. I won't say by how many years, but we rolled today. We had a great jiu-jitsu session. It's his birthday tomorrow, so shout out to my brother. I love you big time. Happy birthday. So it's a big celebratory weekend, so I wanted to talk about some of the greatest Canadian wrestlers of all time. Johnny North and I will give our top 10 greatest Canadian wrestlers tomorrow on Dave and Johnny Live. I haven't even told Johnny to come up with a top 10, but I assume he'll be able to do it pretty quickly. AJ,
well, he's probably listening to the show.
AJ, who's your favorite Canadian wrestler of all time?
For sure, it would be Mad Dog Vachon.
Oh, the right answer is Bret Hart.
Yeah, but that you're saying of all time or what?
Yeah,
come on,
Bret
man.
Hart.
Don't think about the old guys.
No, I'm talking about Bret Hart. He's the greatest of all time. Fred,
How about
greatest Canadian wrestler of all time? You got to say Bret, right? Don't say anybody but Bret. Don't say Ray Rougeau to me, Fred.
He's going to say Rougeau, man. He's Quebec. Dino Bravo, yes.
Dino Bravo. You just like him because he was a gangster.
Bret Hart is the most accomplished.
Yeah.
Bret Hart is the most accomplished wrestler from Canada. Dino Bravo was just a hero of mine.
But would you consider Andre the Giant really more Canadian or more from?
He's French.
He's from France. But he considered himself. He loved Montreal.
Yeah, but he was from France, so he wasn't Canadian, so he won't be on our list. Tomorrow, 12:45, Dave and Johnny Live. We will talk about the greatest Canadian wrestlers of all time. Guys, I have breaking news. Brendan Schaub, former UFC fighter, has the coronavirus.
What?
Yeah.
That's it. You know what? And it's funny.
It's not breaking news?
What's funny, Dave?
I just saw it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but you know what's funny about that? He was on an episode on his show, and he was talking about riding his bike out in the desert and the police stopping him and whatnot. And he was really not really worried about the coronavirus. But he ended up getting, I think he received a ticket for being out on the road when you were not allowed to be biking. And it's funny, man. Here he is. He has the corona.
Yeah, and he was talking about how wearing masks is kind of dumb, and he was kind of downplaying all the precautions, and now, whoops, he's got coronavirus. So I don't know. The people that are like, don't wear masks, it's stupid, you look like an idiot, and then they get coronavirus, I have less sympathy for them. I don't know. It's you're right. Hey, if you're saying that taking precautions is stupid, and then you get something, it's like, well, it's like if you say, oh man, sharp objects are totally fine. Don't be worried about sharp objects. Poke yourself with them, and then he gets stabbed. It's like, well, you're talking all that shit about sharp objects. Now you got stabbed, bro. How's that feel? Not too good. So I don't have sympathy, man. I don't really have sympathy for people that are like, masks are dumb, coronavirus is fake, and then they get coronavirus. It's like, well, fuck. Good luck to you, buddy. I thought it was fake.
Well, but you know what? There it goes. You know what? I don't know what network he's on, but if they need a replacement, they can take Ringside Report and put our show in place of Brendan Schaub. Sorry, Brendan, man. Stay back. Get healthier, and we'll just step in, bud.
Yeah, sorry, Brendan Schaub. We'll replace you on whatever. I think he's on Showtime. And believe me, we are much funnier than Brendan Schaub. That guy is not fucking funny. He has a Showtime comedy special. It is weak as fuck. We are much funnier than Brendan Schaub. So take our Showtime. You'll be better off for it. Okay, guys, let me give you our friends over at Manscaped. Go to manscaped.com. Promo code Ringside20 for 20% off plus free shipping on all your Manscaped orders. You want to stay clean and tight and fresh this summer. It's hot. You want to shave your balls. You want to shave all your areas. Get the Manscaped
Sweaty
Lawnmower
balls.
3.0. The 3.0 is a fantastic product. AJ, you been enjoying your 3.0?
Listen, why don't you show my picture on Instagram that they posted for Manscaped? It's classic.
I don't know what you're talking about. Get the ball deodorant.
Instagram.
Get all the great Manscaped products and manscaped.com, promo code Ringside20. Get 20% off plus free shipping when you use the promo code Ringside20 at manscaped.com. And that's about it. Go to ringsidereport.net is our website. Follow AJ at Danny Bruck on Instagram and Twitter. Follow Freddie at Freddie MMA. You can follow me on all the things at Dave Simon MMA. I posted a picture on my Instagram today of my whole Yeezy collection. You see that, AJ?
Why don't you show our Manscaped collection? Forget the Yeezy. Show the Manscaped. They're paying us. I just sent you a message with my picture. You know how much work goes into that? Hair, makeup, the whole 9 yards.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm checking out the message. I'll try and show it here before we wrap up.
That's the Manscaped 2.0, man.
We have the 3.0.
The 3.0.
Oh, wow.
Right.
You made a whole image there, eh?
Without the bathrobe this time.
Fred, look at this. Look at what AJ did here. Look at AJ. Look at that guy.
We save balls, man.
Good stuff, AJ.
Who does that? No one else does that Manscaped stuff like us. No one talks balls as much as us. Sweaty balls, salty balls.
Manscaped.com, promo code Ringside20. Manscaped.com, promo code Ringside20 for 20% off your order, plus free shipping on all your Manscaped gear.
You need it, man.
Johnny North is on the chat. Johnny North on the chat. Shout out to you, Johnny North. You know what the show's about tomorrow, so you've got a little homework assignment. Come up with your top 10 Canadian pro wrestlers of all time. Oh, I'm seeing that the Animal Crossing update is now live, so I can now swim in Animal Crossing. I mean, isn't that exciting? I'm talking about that right there, AJ. The July update is live. I'm going to go play some Animal Crossing now. I'll talk to you guys later.
It's a
Nintendo game, man. Animal Crossing, man.
What is that, a kid's game?
No. I mean, kind of. It's a game for everybody. The
kid looks like he's like 2 years old, man.
I play this game.
What the hell?
I play this game every day. I've been
my
playing this
God.
game every day for the past several months. I don't play for that long every day. Sometimes it's like 20 minutes. Sometimes it's 2 hours. But I play every day.
What?
Just to, like, check in on my island, buy the new items, get a new KK Slider song, check in on the Nook's Cranny, see what's going on there, see what they're selling, buy a new outfit. Okay? These are all things that I do on Animal Crossing. It's a Nintendo Switch game. Ask...
Why don't you play like Mortal Kombat or like maybe even the UFC, whatever games? What is this?
Why don't you ask?
What is this world coming to?
Ask Noah what Animal Crossing is. He'll tell you. Okay.
I will, but
I'm gonna do like Conor McGregor with you and Ali Abdelaziz. Where's Noah? Where's Noah? Hey AJ.
Send me location.
AJ's got a Noah too. Noah will tell you what Animal Crossing is. He knows. Okay? I bet you he knows. Okay? Khabib hat. Daniel Winston dropping a super chat. Thank you, Daniel. He says the main event of the boxing match tonight is Jose Pedraza versus Mikel Lapierre. Check that out.
Wow.
Boxing match tonight. Daniel Winston's watching boxing. Hey, guys, let me do a little business on the show with you guys while I have you. Let's work out a little plan for Thursday, July 16th.
Sounds good.
Thursday, July 16th. What day is that?
Huh?
Thursday, July 16th. What day is that? It's Thursday, July 16th, motherfucker. What do you think?
I wasn't listening.
I know. So it's a Thursday, and we tend to do our shows on Thursday nights, right? And I don't know if you knew this, AJ. You know, despite all that Lane talk, we also are an MMA show. We talk about the UFC primarily, right? Now, here's a problem. On Thursday, July 16th, Dan Ige is fighting Calvin Kattar in the main event. Pedro Munoz takes on Frankie Edgar, and Carla Esparza faces Marina Rodriguez. It's UFC Fight Island, Thursday, July 16th. I think instead of Ringside Report, we maybe do a watch-along instead. Although, is it actually July 16th? It's going to be Thursday, July 16th, local time in Abu Dhabi. What time is it in Abu Dhabi?
I think, isn't it like...
What time is it in Abu Dhabi right now? 5:11 a.m. Okay, so it would start...
Where's the producer?
It would start at like 10 p.m. The main card would start at 10 p.m. So maybe we go on a little later and do a watch-along? I don't know. We'll have to talk about it off the air, guys. But Thursday, July 16th, the UFC is like piggybacking. Maybe we do a supersized edition of Ringside Report. Maybe we start at 9 or 10 and we do a watch-along show instead. I don't know, guys. Fred, thoughts?
Yeah, I'm down. Telling you, I'm waiting for a baby, though. Whenever.
Yeah, July 16th might be pretty tight. Yeah, right. All right. Well, we'll talk about it.
Maybe I'll be good.
We'll figure it out. But just to let everybody know, the UFC is doing a. Johnny's telling me it's Wednesday at 10 p.m.
What?
Oh, that makes sense because it's gonna be. Oh well, forget everything I just said. Yeah, that makes sense because if it's 6 a.m. on July 16th Abu Dhabi time, that means it'll be 10 p.m. on July 15th our time. Get it? So it's gonna take place on the Wednesday night. Maybe we'll do a watch along on the Wednesday. Who knows? Who knows, guys? We'll talk about it. All right, that's the show. I'm wrapping it up.
Wait. You're talking about your brother's birthday? You're talking about Freddie's new baby coming up. I'm surprised you didn't talk about the thing I sent you today, the new action figures by the UFC, the Conor McGregor action figure, and the John Jones one, holding a bottle.
I was going to buy these until I saw them.
Come on, Dave. Get one. Get one for the show.
I might.
They're cool.
I might. I did want to talk about this because I do buy a lot of action figures for my son, right? Like I buy tons of action figures for him.
Wrestling.
He's got everything. And I was going to get him these UFC ones because I saw Ringside Collectibles had them up on pre-order, but they didn't show the images. Now the images came out. Look at these monstrosities. Oh my
Where's
God.
the Khabib one?
Well, you tell me where the Khabib one is.
Oh, there he is. There he is.
Hold
Give me
on.
a Khabib one.
Hold on. That's supposed to be Khabib?
There's something wrong with his hairline.
There's something wrong with his face. That looks nothing like Khabib. The John Jones one. The John Jones one is okay. The John Jones one is all right. That's supposed to be Cowboy Cerrone. Yeah, there. Whoa,
Where's
I lost
Cowboy?
him. I lost him. AJ, you send this to me on Facebook. Hold on.
But yeah, Khabib looks like Dominic Reyes.
Yeah, they're ugly, man. Look at... dang it. It keeps happening.
What the hell, man?
I keep losing the image every time I try to go to the... It brings me back. Here we go.
Conor McGregor looks like Sean Connery as a young man.
Look at the Cerrone one. Awful. Very ugly. The Cerrone one.
That looks like Burt Reynolds, man.
Yeah, it looks
like
the Conor one is good though. The Conor one is good. The Holloway one, he's like way.
Sean Connery, man.
I don't know. The Conor one's all right. The DC one is decent. The Holloway one, he's like way too jacked. I don't know. These look like terrible action figures. I don't think I'm gonna get them. I might get the Conor one just because it's cool. The John Jones one is kind of cool. I might get John Jones and Conor. I don't know, man. Maybe it'd be good for the set decor, but that's about it for the show.
Dave, man, he looks like. I'm telling you, he looks like Sean Connery, man. Doesn't look like Conor at all.
They don't look very good. They don't look like very good action figures. I don't know. Guys, that's the show. I'll be back 12:45 tomorrow for Dave and Johnny live. And that's it. That's all. RingsideReport.net is our website. Go there, subscribe to our channel, like this video, subscribe to the channel, and when you do, click the bell so you get notifications every time that we are on. We will be back next Thursday at 8 p.m. for our UFC 251 preview. We'll be back next Saturday, July 11th, for the UFC 251 watch-along, first fight from Fight Island. And, of course, I'll be back this weekend with Johnny North for a lot of pro wrestling talk. If you missed our Fyter Fest Night 1 recap, you can watch that right now on the YouTube channel. We recapped AEW Dynamite last night. Fyter Fest Night 1, Kenny and Hangman against the Best Friends, and Cody versus Jake Hager, and a bunch of other matches took place last night. Check it out on our YouTube channel right here or on our website, ringsidereport.net. For AJ and Freddie, I'm Dave, and this has been Ringside
Dizzy is dizzy.
Port.
Port.